The crystalline dome of the Galaxy Council headquarters gleamed under the triple suns of Kepler Nexus. Admiral Nathan Rourke stood at the vast panoramic window, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, gazing out at the sprawling diplomatic quarter, where representatives of over 200 sentient species conducted the business of galactic governance. It had been nearly 15 years since humanity had first ventured beyond their solar system, discovering they were far from alone in the universe. The initial contact had been cautious, but peaceful. Humans, with their remarkable adaptability and innovative approach to technology, had quickly made themselves valuable to the established Galaxy Council. Or so they had thought. "Admiral, the council session begins in 10 minutes. Ambassador Elira Vance approached her diplomatic uniform, pristine, her expression carefully neutral, despite the tension evident in her posture. Rourke nodded without turning. "And what fresh humiliation awaits us today, Ambassador?" "The agenda includes discussion of the Orion Sector Defense Initiative. Our proposals have been relegated to the appendices." Rourke's jaw tightened. The Orion Sector bordered human territory. The defense initiative had been largely designed by Earth's military strategists, using tactics that had successfully repelled 3 incursions by the aggressive Vraxian horde. Yet once again, humanity's contributions were being sidelined. "President Solano has been informed," Vance continued. "She's concerned but advises patience." "Patience," Rourke echoed, finally turning to face her. "We've shown 7 years of patience, Ambassador. 7 years of offering our best minds our resources, our military support. 7 years of being treated as the new primitives at the table." Around them, delegates from across the galaxy moved toward the Grand Council chamber, the elegant, towering Alari, with their crystalline exoskeletons. The gelatinous Morkai, who communicated through color pulses across their translucent bodies. The insectoid Vrex, with their compound eyes and calculating minds. All regarded the human delegation with varying degrees of condescension or outright dismissal. "They still see us as children," Vance said quietly. "Brilliant but unpredictable children." "Children don't develop faster than light travel independently," Rourke replied. "Children don't create medical nanobots that have saved millions of lives across 12 systems. Children don't deploy defense grids that stop the Vraxian fleet when the Council's own defenses failed." A soft chime echoed through the hall, signaling the imminent start of the session. Ambassador Vance straightened her shoulders. "One more session, Admiral. Let's see what happens." "Indeed," Rourke said, his voice carrying a finality that made Vance glance at him sharply. "Let's see." Inside the council chamber, the human delegation took their assigned seats noticeably smaller and positioned at the outer edge of the circular arrangement. The symbolism wasn't lost on Rourke or any of his team. At the center sat the founding species, the Zorathi, the Alari, and the Telnar, who had formed the Galaxy Council over 800 years earlier. Radiating outward were the other member species, arranged roughly by their longevity in the galactic community. Humans naturally were in the outermost ring. Council President Zarthul, a Zorathi, with the characteristic silver-blue scales and elongated cranium of his species, called the session to order. Rourke observed the proceedings with increasing detachment as matter after matter was discussed, debated, and decided with minimal input from the newer members. "We now turn to the matter of the Orion Sector Defense Initiative," Zarthul announced, his multitonal voice resonating through the chamber. "The Strategic Committee has reviewed all submissions and recommends implementation of the Alari-Telnar joint proposal." Colonel Keiji Tanaka, seated beside Rourke, leaned close. "They didn't even mention our submission. We spent 3 months on those plans." Rourke raised his hand, the human delegation signal light pulsing softly. The council president's eye membranes flickered in what Rourke had come to recognize as annoyance. "The Human Federation wishes to speak," Zarthul acknowledged with palpable reluctance. Rourke stood, his tall figure commanding attention despite their peripheral seating. "The Human Federation notes that our comprehensive defense strategy for the Orion sector has apparently been excluded from consideration. Given that human territories make up 30% of the sector, and our forces have successfully engaged the Vraxian horde 3 times, we request clarification on this decision." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Zarthel's neck frills expanded slightly, a sign of irritation. The Strategic Committee found the human proposal interesting, but ultimately unsuitable for implementation across the diverse ecosystems of the Orion sector. "Interesting," Rourke repeated flatly. "May I ask which specific aspects were found unsuitable?" Councillor Talan of the Telnar rose, her avian features arranged in what passed for diplomatic neutrality among her kind. "Admiral Rourke, the human proposals relied heavily on adaptive tactical systems that, while impressive for a species of your developmental stage, lack the refined predictive capabilities of our established methodologies. Additionally, the aggressive deployment strategies suggested were deemed unnecessarily provocative." "Unnecessarily provocative," Rourke echoed again. "I see. And the fact that these unnecessarily provocative strategies successfully repelled the Vraxian fleet at Proxima Colony, while the Council's refined methods failed at Talax Prime, and resulted in the loss of 16 million lives, that wasn't factored into your assessment." The chamber fell silent. Talan's feathers ruffled in the Telnar equivalent of indignation. Admiral Zarthel interjected, "The human delegation would do well to remember its observer status in these proceedings." Rourke froze. "Observer status?" "Our understanding was that all affected territories had equal voice in defense initiatives impacting their sectors." "Equal consideration," Zarthel corrected, his tone condescending. "The final decisions naturally rest with full council members." "And when might humanity expect to achieve this? Full membership?" Ambassador Vance asked, her diplomatic training barely containing her anger. High Counselor Marath of the Alari shifted crystals, chiming softly with the movement. "Species integration into the Council is a carefully measured process. Most species undergo an observational period of at least 50 standard cycles before consideration for provisional membership." 50 years, Tanaka muttered. "While our people remain vulnerable to Vraxian raids. The Council protects all species within its jurisdiction," Zarthel stated firmly. "However, governance must remain with those who have demonstrated the necessary maturity." A Vrex representative, Sentinel Prime Kuzit, clicked his mandibles in what humans had learned was their equivalent of derisive laughter. "Perhaps when humans demonstrate they can go a full century without engaging in intraspecies warfare, the Council might reconsider their status." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Rourke felt heat rising in his face, but maintained his composure. "Humanity acknowledges its imperfect history. However, we have united our planet and extended peaceful cooperation to all sentient species we've encountered." "After nearly destroying yourselves multiple times," another counselor called out, "your species still bears the genetic scars of your nuclear follies. And your atmospheric engineers still struggle to fully restore your homeworld's climate," added another. Zarthel raised a hand for quiet. "These historical observations, while accurate, are perhaps not constructive to current proceedings. The Council recognizes humanity's recent contributions while maintaining its responsibility to ensure galactic stability through proven governance." Rourke remained standing, his patience finally exhausted. "Council President, may I ask a direct question?" "Proceed, Admiral." "In plain terms, does the Council consider humanity equals in this galactic community or not?" The silence that followed was answer enough, but Zarthel eventually spoke. "Equality is a complex concept, Admiral. All sentient species have intrinsic value, but some have demonstrated greater capacity for responsible governance through millennia of peaceful cooperation." "I see," Rourke said quietly. "Then I have a statement to make on behalf of the Human Federation." Ambassador Vance looked up sharply. This wasn't in their diplomatic script. Rourke met her gaze briefly, a silent communication passing between them. Her eyes widened slightly, then she gave an almost imperceptible nod. The Human Federation entered into cooperation with the Galaxy Council in good faith. Rourke began, his voice carrying clearly throughout the chamber. We have shared our technologies, our resources, our innovations in medicine, energy, and defense. We have stationed our ships to protect Council trade routes. Our scientists have worked tirelessly in joint research facilities. Our engineers have helped build or upgrade infrastructure on 26 worlds. He paused, looking around the chamber at the assembled representatives. In return, we have been marginalized, patronized, and dismissed. Our contributions are utilized but unacknowledged. Our council is sought but ignored. Our territories are included in your maps but excluded from your decision-making. Zarthel's frills flattened against his neck. Admiral Rourke, this dramatic characterization— I am not finished, Rourke cut in his tone, leaving no room for interruption. Even Zarthel, unaccustomed to being challenged, fell silent. Effective immediately, the Human Federation is withdrawing from all cooperative agreements with the Galaxy Council. The chamber erupted in exclamations and the various sounds of shock or dismay from dozens of species. Zarthel struck his resonating rod against the council table, the harmonic tone gradually restoring order. Admiral, surely this is an overreaction to a simple procedural matter. The council president said, his multiple voice tones conveying both dismissal and a hint of concern. This is not a negotiating tactic, Council President. It is a final decision authorized by President Solano and the Federation Assembly. Within 24 standard hours, all human personnel will be withdrawn from joint facilities. All human-developed technologies currently operating under Council jurisdiction will be deactivated or removed. All human military assets will return to Federation space. The Alari High Counselor's crystalline form flashed with pulses of alarmed light. This is absurd. You cannot simply withdraw technologies that have been integrated into critical systems. Actually, we can, Colonel Tanaka interjected, standing beside Rourke. All human contributions have been provided under provisional licensing agreements, with ownership and control explicitly retained by the Federation. You should read the appendices of the agreements you so casually dismiss. Sentinel Prime Kazit of the Vrex clicked forward aggressively. This is nothing short of blackmail. The humans seek to leverage their technological contributions to force greater council representation. No, Rourke said simply. We are not asking for anything. We are leaving. The Human Federation will chart its own course among the stars. We will form our own alliances with those who treat us as equals. He looked directly at Zarthel. You have made it abundantly clear that the Council is not interested in true partnership with humanity. We have received your message. Now you have ours. With that, the entire human delegation stood in unison and moved toward the chamber exit. The Council erupted into chaos behind them. Ambassador Vance kept pace with Rourke as they strode through the corridors toward the Earth Embassy. That was decisive, she said. The decision was made days ago, Rourke replied. President Solano wanted to give them one last chance to demonstrate respect. And they failed spectacularly. Vance shook her head. The withdrawal protocol is already being implemented. Human personnel across Council space are being quietly recalled. Transport ships are in position. Medical facilities are preparing patient transfers. What's the timeline? 24 hours for critical personnel, 72 for complete withdrawal. The technology decommissioning is more complex. Some systems are too integrated to shut down without causing humanitarian crises. Rourke nodded grimly. We're not monsters. The protocol allows for gradual decommissioning of life-critical systems over the next 6 months, with clear instructions for Council technicians to develop replacements. Will they be able to? Vance asked. That, Rourke said as they reached the embassy's secure communication center, is no longer our problem. Within hours, the galaxy witnessed an unprecedented exodus. Human doctors, engineers, scientists, and technicians departed from hundreds of facilities across Council space. The withdrawal was orderly, but absolute. Human-designed medical equipment continued to function, but the specialists who maintained them and understood their intricate operations were gone. On 20 worlds, automated messages appeared on human-designed communication networks, providing basic instructions for system maintenance and notices of service reduction. On Talax Prime, the central atmospheric processors rebuilt with human technology after the Vraxian attack continued functioning, but the efficiency algorithms that had optimized their performance went offline, reducing capacity by 40%. The waiting list for advanced medical procedures at the renowned Alari healing centers quadrupled overnight as human surgeons and their specialized equipment disappeared. The Human Federation had not built the Galaxy Council's infrastructure. The Council had existed for centuries before humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. But in just 7 years, humans had upgraded, enhanced, and in many cases revolutionized the systems they'd encountered. Their departure revealed just how significant their contributions had been. President Mira Solano addressed the Federation Assembly on Earth 3 days after the withdrawal began. The Grand Chamber in New Geneva was packed with billions more watching the broadcast across human space. For too long, she said, her powerful voice filling the hall, humanity has sought validation from those who view us as lesser beings. We have tried to prove our worth through service, innovation, and sacrifice. Today, we recognize that no amount of contribution will ever be sufficient to overcome the entrenched prejudice of the Council leadership. Applause thundered through the chamber. But this is not the end of humanity's journey among the stars, Solano continued. This is a new beginning. Already we have received communications from 12 independent worlds and 3 non-council species seeking direct alliances with the Federation. They have watched how we have been treated. They have their own stories of council condescension and marginalization. She paused, her expression resolute. Today, I am announcing the formation of the Independent Systems Alliance. Unlike the Council, this will be a true partnership of equals. Every member world or species will have equal representation and equal voice. We will share our knowledge, our resources, and our protection without hierarchy or prejudice. The first official meeting of the Alliance will take place here in New Geneva in 30 days. Let this be the beginning of a new era in galactic cooperation, one based on mutual respect rather than historical precedent or technological disparity. The assembly rose in a standing ovation that lasted nearly 10 minutes. In the 2 weeks that followed, the impacts of the human withdrawal became increasingly apparent across Council space. The first systems to fail were those most recently upgraded with human innovations. Communication networks developed mysterious latencies. Power distribution grids became unstable. The automated defense platforms guarding the Orion sector, ironically based on repurposed human designs rather than the rejected human proposals, began generating false positives, diverting Council ships to chase phantom Vraxian incursions. The Council hastily assembled a crisis response committee. Emergency sessions were held around the clock as technical teams struggled to maintain critical infrastructure. Reports flooded in from across Council space, detailing cascading system failures or degradations. On Zarathia Prime, the homeworld of Council President Zarthal, the Central Medical Facility's diagnostic systems began producing increasingly erratic results. The facility had been upgraded with human biomedical technology just 2 years earlier. Without the human technicians who understood the quantum calibration protocols, the Zorathi medical directors were forced to revert to centuries-old methodologies, increasing diagnosis times from minutes to days. The most dramatic impact came on the 30th day after the withdrawal. The Vraxian horde, having noted the deterioration of the Orion sector defenses, launched a major incursion into Council space. The sector's defender fleet, operating without the tactical coordination systems previously maintained by human military advisors, suffered heavy losses before managing to repel the attack. 3 Council colony worlds experienced orbital bombardment before the Vraxians were driven back. Meanwhile, the Human Federation was flourishing. Freed from the constraints of Council protocols and the need to make their technologies compatible with outdated Council systems, human innovation accelerated. The research centers that had been distributed across Council space were reconsolidated on human worlds, creating unprecedented collaboration among Earth's finest minds. New defensive technologies emerged within months, more effective and efficient than what the Federation had offered the Council. Medical breakthroughs followed along with advances in energy production, terraforming, and faster-than-light travel. The first ships equipped with the new Hawking drive could cross the galaxy in weeks rather than months, giving the Federation unprecedented mobility. The nascent Independent Systems Alliance grew rapidly. The initial meeting in New Geneva had representatives from 15 non-Council worlds or species. By the 6-month mark, that number had grown to 37. Many were smaller species that had been overlooked or marginalized by the Council for centuries. Others were newly spacefaring civilizations that the Council had relegated to protectorate status, denying them meaningful self-determination. Most significant was the defection of the Telnar colonies in the Sagittarius Arm. Historically loyal to the Council, the colony worlds had increasingly chafed under the central authority of their homeworld. When the disruptions caused by the human withdrawal left them vulnerable to pirate attacks, they appealed to their homeworld for additional protection. The request was denied due to resource constraints. The Federation, hearing of their plight, dispatched a defensive force without being asked. When the Telnar High Council demanded the withdrawal of human ships from their colony space, the colonial governors formally severed ties with their ancestral government and applied for membership in the Independent Systems Alliance. It was a political earthquake that reverberated throughout Council space. 9 months after the human withdrawal, the Galaxy Council was in crisis. Trade routes once secured by human patrol ships were increasingly vulnerable to piracy. Medical facilities were overwhelmed as procedures that had become routine with human technology were once again complex and dangerous. The Vraxians, emboldened by the Council's weakened defenses, were probing deeper into previously secure territories. Most concerning to the Council leadership was the rapid growth and increasing influence of the Independent Systems Alliance. The Alliance had established trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, and technological exchange programs that were drawing more worlds away from Council influence. Reports indicated that the Alliance was sharing advanced human technology freely among its members, accelerating the development of formerly marginalized species. In a closed emergency session, Council President Zarthal faced the harsh reality of their situation. Our analysts project that at current trajectories, the Independent Systems Alliance will surpass the Council in economic and military capacity within 5 years, he informed the assembled High Councilors. Several more member worlds are considering defection. The Alari colonies in the Perseus Arm have already begun negotiations with the Alliance. High Councilor Marath's crystalline form darkened with distress. How could this happen so quickly? The humans were barely on the galactic stage for a decade. We underestimated them. Sentinel Prime Kuzet of the Vrex admitted, mandibles clicking in agitation. Their adaptability, their rate of innovation, it is unprecedented in our records. More significantly, added a Morkai representative, pulses of worried orange flowing across their gelatinous form. We failed to recognize how deeply integrated their contributions had become in our infrastructure. The withdrawal revealed our dependence. Then we must end this foolishness, Zarthal declared. We will send a delegation to Earth. We will offer the humans full Council membership effective immediately. Surely, they will see the logic in reunification. The proposal was approved unanimously, a rare occurrence in Council proceedings. A diplomatic delegation of the highest level was assembled, including representatives from each of the founding species. The journey to Earth aboard the Council's ceremonial vessel was uncomfortable for the delegates, accustomed as they were to the amenities of human-enhanced transportation. They arrived at Earth to find a transformed world. In the months since the withdrawal, the planet had undergone remarkable development. The atmospheric reclamation projects had accelerated dramatically, without the need to share resources across Council space. The orbital infrastructure had expanded with massive construction projects, visible even from their approach vector. Most striking was New Geneva itself. Once merely the Terran headquarters of the Federation government, It had become a truly galactic capital. The diplomatic quarter bustled with representatives from dozens of species, many unfamiliar to the council delegates. Construction crews, both human and alien, worked on expanding the government complex to accommodate the growing alliance membership. The council delegation was received with formal courtesy, but notable lack of enthusiasm. They were escorted to a waiting area that, while comfortable, was far from the grand reception they had anticipated. After an hour's delay, precisely the same duration that human representatives had typically been kept waiting at council facilities, they were finally admitted to President Solano's office. Solano herself was a commanding presence, a veteran diplomat who had risen through Federation governance during the challenging early years of human expansion. She greeted the delegation with perfect diplomatic protocol, but without warmth. The Galaxy Council honors the Human Federation with this visit. Zarthal began his carefully prepared speech, emphasizing the historical significance of their presence on Earth. Solano listened without interruption, her expression revealing nothing. When Zarthal finally presented the Council's offer of full membership, she remained silent for several moments. "Council President," she finally said, "the Human Federation appreciates your journey here and the offer you present. However, I must inform you that we are no longer interested in Council membership." Zarthal's neck frills expanded in shock. This was not the response the Council had anticipated. "President Solano, perhaps I have failed to emphasize the significance of this offer. No species has ever been granted full membership without the standard observational period. This is an unprecedented honor. An honor that comes only after we demonstrated our worth by withdrawing it," Solano replied evenly. "An honor extended not out of respect but necessity. The Council does not suddenly consider humanity equals. You simply find yourselves unable to maintain your systems without us." The Alari representative chimed in agitation. This response seems needlessly adversarial. The Council acknowledges that certain adjustments in perspective regarding humanity's place in the galactic community may have been warranted. "Adjustments in perspective," Solano repeated. "A diplomatic phrase for we were wrong, but cannot bring ourselves to say it directly." She rose from her seat, indicating the meeting was nearing its conclusion. "The Human Federation has moved forward. We have established new partnerships based on mutual respect, from the outset not reluctantly granted after proving our worth." "You refer to this Independent Systems Alliance," Zarthal said, making little effort to hide his disdain. "A collection of minor worlds and underdeveloped species gathered under human protection." Admiral Rourke, who had been standing silently at Solano's side, stepped forward. "That collection now includes 43 former Council worlds, including the entire Telnar colonial system. Hardly minor or underdeveloped. Rebellious factions seeking advantage," Zarthal dismissed. "They will return to the Council fold when they realize the protections of human technology cannot extend across their territories indefinitely." "An interesting assessment," Solano said. "Perhaps you should share it with the Alliance delegation waiting in the next room." She pressed a control on her desk, and the office door slid open to reveal a diverse group of representatives from across the galaxy. The Council delegation turned in surprise. Foremost among them was Governor Talith of the Telnar colonies, her avian features arranged in what humans had come to recognize as quiet satisfaction. Beside her stood representatives of a dozen species, including several that the Council had long classified as protectorate civilizations. "As you can see," Solano continued, "the Alliance is more than capable of representing itself. These members have not been coerced or misled. They have joined freely with full understanding of what Alliance membership entails: equal representation, mutual defense, and shared prosperity." Zarthal's composure faltered as he recognized several representatives from worlds the Council had considered securely within their influence. "This assembly changes nothing. The Council has stood for over 800 years. This upstart alliance cannot hope to match our established diplomatic and economic networks." "Your established networks are failing," Governor Talith said bluntly. Trade volume along Council routes has decreased by 38% in the past 6 months. Piracy has increased by 60% in former Council secure zones. The Vraxians have claimed 3 frontier worlds that the Council failed to protect. Temporary disruptions, Zarthal insisted. Once the humans return to their proper place within the Council structure. Our proper place. Rourke interrupted his patience, finally exhausted. You still don't understand. We don't want a place in your hierarchy. We never did. We wanted partnership. We wanted respect. You offered neither, so we created something better. The Council delegation is welcome to tour Alliance facilities. Solano said, her tone, making it clear the substantive part of the meeting was over. You will find that we have not built an upstart alternative to your Council. We have created a fundamentally different approach to galactic cooperation. One without center or periphery. One where age does not confer privilege and novelty is not cause for suspicion. And if the Council were to reconsider its structural approach, the Morkai representative asked carefully, pulses of calculating blue rippling across their form. Solano exchanged glances with the Alliance representatives. The Alliance would consider an application for membership from the Galaxy Council or its individual member worlds under the same terms as any other applicant. Equal status, equal voice, equal responsibility. The silence that followed was profound. The Council delegation had arrived expecting to magnanimously offer humanity a seat at their table. Instead, they were being offered a seat at humanity's, and not even a privileged one. This is outrageous, Zarthal finally sputtered. The founding civilizations of the Council would never agree to such terms. Then they are welcome to maintain their current path, Solano said simply. The Alliance has no desire to absorb unwilling members or to impose our structure on others. We merely offer an alternative for those who share our values. Values that will fade when the Alliance faces its first true crisis, Zarthal predicted darkly. Your equality sounds noble in peacetime. We shall see how it withstands the pressures of war or economic collapse. Admiral Rourke stepped forward. The Alliance was born in crisis, the crisis of Council failure to respect its contributors. It has already withstood Vraxian incursions, pirate syndicates, and the economic challenges of establishing new trade routes. Each time our diverse membership has proven stronger together than any would have been under the Council's tiered protection. You have made your position clear, Zarthal said stiffly. The Council delegation will depart. As you wish, Solano replied. Know that our door remains open should the Council reconsider. Not for humanity's sake, but for all species who might benefit from a more equitable galactic order. As the Council delegation departed, the Alliance representatives moved into the office for their scheduled meeting. The contrast was striking. Where the Council members had maintained formal distance and rigid protocol, the Alliance meeting quickly took on the character of collaborative equals. Ideas were exchanged freely, with representatives of recently spacefaring civilizations given the same attention as those from established powers. Over the following year, the galactic landscape continued to transform. The Council, despite Zarthal's predictions, found itself increasingly isolated. Trade routes shifted to Alliance-protected corridors. Scientific breakthroughs emerged from Alliance research cooperatives combining the unique perspectives and specialized knowledge of diverse species. The technological gap between Alliance and Council worlds widened month by month. A key turning point came when the Vraxian Horde launched what they believed would be a decisive strike against vulnerable Alliance frontier worlds. They encountered a defense network of unprecedented sophistication human tactical systems, enhanced by Telnar sensor technology, and deployed using Morkai predictive models. The Vraxian fleet was decimated, and for the first time in centuries, the Horde offered terms for a formal ceasefire. 2 years after the human withdrawal, the Council's influence had contracted to less than half its former territory. Economic recession plagued the remaining member worlds as trade shifted to Alliance routes. When the Alari homeworld formally applied for Alliance membership, Zarthal's government fell. The new Zorathi leadership immediately opened negotiations with the Alliance. Admiral Rourke stood once again at a viewport this time, overlooking the expanded diplomatic quarter of New Geneva. Ambassador Vance joined him, carrying data tablets with the latest reports. "The Zorathy delegation arrives tomorrow," she informed him. "Their application for alliance membership includes a formal apology for, and I quote, generations of speciesist policy and hierarchical governance contradicting the principles of galactic cooperation." Rourke nodded. "And President Zarthel?" Former president," Vance corrected, with the ghost of a smile. "He's accepted a position at the Galactic Historical Institute. Apparently he's writing a comprehensive analysis of the Council's downfall." "I hope he includes his own role in it," Rourke said dryly. "Oh, I believe that's the primary focus." Vance set down the tablets and moved to stand beside him at the viewport. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you made that speech in the council chamber?" Rourke considered the question. "Not precisely this. I knew we needed to withdraw for our own dignity, if nothing else. I hoped we might form some alternative partnerships. But this," he gestured to the bustling Alliance capital below, where dozens of species moved about their business. "This surpassed even my optimistic projections. President Solano wants you to lead the reception committee for the Zorathy delegation." Rourke raised an eyebrow. "Is that wise? I'm hardly their favorite human." "That's precisely why," Vance replied. "It symbolizes the Alliance approach: no grudges, no hierarchy, just moving forward together." Below them, a group of children from various species played in one of the capital's parks. Human children, alongside young Telnar, newly admitted Zorathy younglings, and even the offspring of species that had been council protectorates for generations. They shared games, communicated across their biological differences, and demonstrated the natural cooperation that their elders had somehow forgotten. "We didn't just withdraw from their peace process," Rourke observed. "We created a better one." "Speaking of creation," Vance said, "the new Hawking Drive shipyards at Jupiter have completed the first diplomatic vessel designed with input from 15 member species. The Alliance Council has voted to name it the Rourke's Principle." The Admiral winced. "That's not necessary." "The vote was unanimous," Vance informed him with amusement. "Even the Zorathy delegation supported it. It seems you've become something of a galactic symbol." "For what, storming out of a meeting?" "For knowing when to walk away from a table where you're not respected and building a better table." Vance's expression grew more serious. "You gave voice to what dozens of marginalized species had felt for centuries, but never dared express. That speech in the council chamber is taught in schools across the Alliance now." Rourke shook his head, uncomfortable with the recognition. "I was just doing my job representing humanity's interests. And in doing so, you represented everyone who'd ever been dismissed, patronized, or exploited by those who considered themselves inherently superior." Vance gestured to the Alliance emblem, displayed prominently on a nearby building, a circle of stars, surrounding an open space with no central point or hierarchy. "That's why this works. Not because humans built it, but because humans understood what it felt like to be on the outside." A communication alert chimed softly. "Admiral, the preliminary delegation from Zorathia Prime has arrived in orbit," announced a calm voice. "Acknowledge," Rourke replied. "Please inform them that the Alliance welcomes them as equals." He turned back to the viewport, watching as shuttles from a dozen worlds converged on the spaceport below. "As equals," he repeated softly. "That's all we ever wanted." In the coming years, the Alliance would face many challenges: internal disputes, external threats, the complex task of balancing diverse needs across hundreds of worlds. But unlike the Council, it would face these challenges without artificial hierarchies or entrenched prejudices. Species would be valued for their contributions, not their age or technological advancement. Wisdom would be respected regardless of its source. And though few would admit it aloud, even the former Council species came to recognize that their civilization had grown stronger through this transformation. The comfort of privilege had bred complacency. The equality of the Alliance bred innovation. The rigid structures of the past had maintained a certain stability, but at the cost of stagnation. The collaborative approach of the alliance had unleashed potential that had lain dormant for centuries. As the Zorathi delegation settled into their quarters in New Geneva, one of their junior diplomats found a small package waiting in their suite. Inside was a simple wooden plaque bearing a human proverb engraved in both English and the complex script of Zorathia. The true measure of an equal partnership is not that all must be the same, but that all are equally valued for their differences. It was signed simply, with respect, Admiral Nathan Rourke, Human Federation. The young diplomat placed it carefully on the wall of the delegation office. When the senior Zorathi representatives noticed it later, none suggested removing it. Some lessons, it seemed, had finally been learned. In the Grand Council chamber of the Alliance, now expanded to accommodate representatives from over 100 worlds, the seat designated for Earth's delegation was identical to all others, no larger, no more centrally positioned. It was perhaps the most profound statement of all. Humanity had withdrawn from a peace built on inequality, only to help forge a deeper peace built on respect. As Admiral Rourke would later write in his memoirs, "We did not seek to replace the Council's center with our own. We sought to create a galactic community, with no center at all, where each voice carries equal weight, each contribution, equal value, each world, equal standing." In that mission, against all odds, we succeeded. Not through superior strength or technology, but through the simple, powerful act of walking away from a table where we were not respected, and building a better one where all could sit as equals. The Galaxy Council had made a critical mistake in dismissing humanity as immature and unworthy of equal standing. In doing so, they had not only lost a valuable ally, but catalyzed a transformation that would forever alter the course of galactic civilization. The humans had withdrawn, and in their withdrawal, they had revealed a better path forward, not just for themselves, but for all who had ever sat at the edges of power looking in. In the end, it was not human technology, adaptability, or even military prowess that had changed the galaxy. It was something far simpler and more profound, the universal desire to be treated with dignity and respect. By recognizing and honoring that desire in others, humanity had found its true place among the stars, not at the center of a new hierarchy, but as architects of a circle where no center was needed at all.